go first so you don't have to sit through the whole meeting this time before you give your update.
Sure. Well, hi, everybody. I'm Ken Perko with the Sorensen Community Campus, the Unity and Multicultural Center on 9th West and California Avenue. My update is that we are open. We have been focused throughout the pandemic on essential services, but we are kind of starting, well, still kind of increasing the services that we have. So our fitness center's open, the basketball and boxing gyms are open, and the tech center is open. The facility itself is open 7:30 a.m. to 9 p.m. Monday through Friday and 9 to 5 on Saturdays. We also have summer camps, youth programs, early Head Start. One thing that people may not be aware of, we had a recent expansion of our Wi-Fi services. And so there's Wi-Fi across the campus, so outside as well as inside the buildings. We are still under construction in the pool, and so unfortunately the pool is not yet open. We're really hoping for August. There was a little delay in a part, I guess. And then we've also started some youth sports programs that are happening outside. We have limited activities and programs inside the buildings, and masks are still required except when people are actively exercising, just because we do have the dental clinic and we have youth programs and kids can't be vaccinated yet. So we're all wearing masks inside the buildings. But we do have programming resuming. And as Turner mentioned, we're hoping to get back to having community programs in the fall. Whether that means August or September, we're not quite sure yet. But also I'd love any questions. If anybody has any questions or comments or anything that can help make the Sorensen campus better. Or thank you for your time.
Thank you. I'm wondering if Brian or Ian are here with a proposal for redevelopment at 700 West California Avenue. Are either of you here representing them?
Define represent.
Are you presenting?
I do not. I was not told of any presentation.
No, it's not us, Ian. It's another entity.
Oh, okay.
Okay. We have a presentation from a developer, but I'm not sure the name of the person presenting. So just checking. While we're waiting for the mayor to join, I'll give some updates from the community council. We have a couple of business items. Well, we have one business item toward the end of the meeting, but the person who's presenting that will be a little bit late to the meeting. And so it's going to move down the agenda a little bit. But as far as some updates, the first update I want to give is one that I'm very, very happy to give. We have resolved our IRS issue that we have been working on for the past 3 years. So we received our 501c3 designation from the IRS about last week, and Cody and I have been in the process of getting everything updated in our bank and kind of moving through the final process. Yeah, our 501c3 status is restored. And so basically what that means is we can fundraise and we can work on a variety of different things that we've been a little bit hesitant to do, like grants and different things. So we're very glad that that is resolved. I saw that the mayor has just joined. So we're going to go ahead and get started with the mayor. I don't know, Josh or Mayor, which one of you wants to go first, or what process do you want to follow?
I love it when Josh goes first. No?
Not tonight.
Hello. Thank you for having me come visit with you tonight. If I could just take a moment as a person who wears my heart on my sleeve to share with you that I spent the afternoon at funeral services for one of Salt Lake City's finest. Our sergeant over the training division in the police department, Russ Peterson, passed away late last week from a heart attack on a Lake Powell vacation with his family. He was 45 years old, and he was a wonderful, human being and a real leader in our department. And so my tears are right here. And it was a beautiful and emotional afternoon. And I'm happy to actually come to community council because probably like many of you, I've come to community council meetings for a long time, and sometimes it's nice to come and like literally be in community with our people. And anyway, so just in case I seem weepy, it's been a sad day for our city's police department, and that's where I'm coming from. Can I give you a little highlight of something that wrapped up last night, which was our city council finalized our fiscal year 21-22 budget, and a lot of great things happened in it. The Commission on Racial Equity and Policing made a number of recommendations in their first batch of recommendations. We just received their second batch, but the first batch I recognized in my proposed budget to the council, and they solidified that last night, which is a number of things like $20,000 for the peer court, which is the student peer-to-peer non-court path, non-jail path for our youth in the community. We supported that in helping it to grow. We have a full-time clinician that will be on staff in the public safety building for our police officers for their mental health needs and the myriad of challenges that they face every day. We funded 6 additional social workers for our co-responder model. And that gets us closer to 24/7 coverage, which is absolutely our goal. But because all of those social workers go out with a police officer, and by the way, we've had a lot of conversations with the social worker program to say, you know, are there some calls that you'd be comfortable going out without an officer on? And it is a flat no. We really must co-deploy, and that so that model is going to continue, and in the next fiscal year, growing it by 6 officers and 6 social workers is the reality of what we can actually get done. So we will keep going toward, and I believe in our next installation, we'll be able to get to 24/7 coverage with the co-responder model, which is awesome. We did $11 million allocated for affordable housing in the coming year. And we'll also have about $4.5 million from federal housing programs to deploy right here in our community. And at least we're looking at, with those millions of dollars, 350 affordable units we'll be able to create in the city in the next year. And at least 115 of those 350 will be affordable to people making less than 50% of the area median income. So take the median income for everyone in Salt Lake County, which is determined annually, not by us, but by the feds. And then you cut that in half, and 115 or more of those units will be affordable to that lower 50%, which is the hardest to create in the marketplace. The city council did approve my funding request to make permanent our community commitment program, which is what we launched last October as a pilot project. And that really came out of an evolution from learning with our service provider community how beneficial the one day at the Salt Palace has been in the past. And that will continue to happen, where we invite all of our homeless residents to come into the Salt Palace, get a driver's license, resolve any outstanding court issues with our justice court, get a haircut, talk to housing providers, talk to detox providers, whatever their needs may be. And community commitment program said, why don't we take all these resources and go meet people where they're at? And that's what we've been doing in the large encampments, moving from large encampment to large encampment across the city since October. And then the health department at the end of those 2 to 3 weeks of outreach, intensive outreach, ends up doing the cleaning of the public space there. removing bio waste and other hazards. So the city council funded making that program permanent for Salt Lake City, and we're grateful for the more than a dozen other service providers that are going out. You might have heard also that our justice courts have taken it a step farther now, and they're doing the kayak court on the Jordan River, and that this is actually a very popular, the justice courts is one of the most popular service entities who goes out to the community commitment program. And then sustainability, I'll give you a little update on that from the budget. Air quality is still our number one concern on the broad level for Salt Lake City residents, as it has been year over year. And we, with this budget, are funding a giant step toward our 100% renewable energy goals. It's called the Community Renewable Energy Program. And hang with me for just a second, because I'm going to go a little bit in the weeds, but I promise it'll be worth it. I'm kind of losing my voice. About 7 years ago, when I was new on the city council, I came on and a couple council members said, we want to ban wood burning in Salt Lake City for these months, these winter months, when we know the air quality can get really bad. And we had the authority to do that as a city council, but I knew from my time as an air quality advocate, felt pretty sure that the legislature would come in very quickly and remove our ability to ban such a thing, and probably remove every other city's ability to put such a ban in place. And so instead, we worked with the county health department to look at the health reasons to put that kind of a restriction in place. And they ended up putting a countywide ban on wood burning for what we called then those red air days through the winter months. It was so much more effective because Salt Lake City doesn't exist in a bubble, although sometimes we think we do, especially from an air quality perspective. So I'm reminded of that with this community renewable energy plan, because we want 100% renewable energy by 2030. We want it sooner than that, but we've been talking about it by 2030 for a long time. And what is so heartening about this other approach we took, which is to go through a legislative process with Rocky Mountain Power that invites any other city and county in the state to raise their hand and say, we want 100% renewable energy too. We were successful in that in the 2020 legislative session, which created a pathway for cities and counties like us to get to 100% renewable energy in partnership with Rocky Mountain Power. And what is so cool is that it's not just Salt Lake City and Park City and Moab. There's 26 cities and counties in the state of Utah who put their hand up and are on the path now for 100% renewable energy. And when you look at what that energy means, like the gigawatts of that energy, Salt Lake City is only a third of what ultimately is being requested now of Rocky Mountain Power to provide. So we tripled our climate impact. We tripled the renewable energy by going in this partnership inclusive approach. And the Salt Lake City Council last night funded about $300,000 from Salt Lake City, which is joining up with a couple $100,000 from 8 other cities who have said, we want this so much, we're going to help fund these legal and regulatory formation steps that we have to take in order to launch the program. So it's very, very exciting that we've tripled our impact, and 100% renewable is on our path. That's kind of, I'm happy to go into any parts of the budget you're interested in. It's well over $300 million, but I have some of it in here, and I'll do everything I can to answer any questions you have, or we can just open it up. And if you want to talk about neighborhood issues, I see Councilmember Ferris's name is listed there. Hi, Councilmember Ferris. I don't see you.
Hello.
Nice to be with you. And I think that he did a great job representing you all in the budget process, particularly as a brand newcomer to the council. It's quite a lot of work.
Thank you very much.
Good job. Turner, how would you like to do this? I'm happy to field questions. If anyone wants to unmute and talk to me or throw something in the chat, I can try to follow that too.
Quiet tonight. Feel free to just unmute and ask your questions.
This is Sarah Wolf. I do a lot of stuff with the Glendale Community Council and just started an arts committee. And I'm curious what was in the budget for arts and culture this round.
Hi, Sarah. Nice to meet you. So our Arts Council staff has been historically very, very small, from 2 to about 5 people. And so for the first time, I think in the council's history, we're growing the Arts Council's staff ability because we want to also grow their funding for grants and their programmatic funding. They simply didn't have people to be able to run any more than what they were already running. And in addition to that, the American Recovery Plan dollars, which Salt Lake City is going to be allocated $87 million in total over the course of 2 years. That'll be in 2 batches of money. We are anxiously awaiting the final direction on those dollars from the Treasury, which we're anticipating. We were told we'd get it in the early June. Now we're told July 10th we'll have that final, the entire nation will have that final direction on how we can spend it. But my vision for some of that money is around really a cultural renaissance in Salt Lake City, investment in the arts community, not only for the culture and the culture building and the impact that that community has in particular had through the pandemic, but as a means of economic growth. We know that when we do, here's an interesting thing, when we do our resident survey, which some of you might have participated in the last couple of months, we do it every 2 years as a city. We ask people to rank their priorities of different investment sectors for the city. Arts is actually quite low on that resident list. But when we survey our business community and small business community included in that, arts is at the top of the list because it's an economic generator. People come into the city to experience the arts and culture here. So just a note that it's important, I think, for all of us as elected officials to be cognizant that the value of arts is completely worthwhile for the sake of arts and culture, but it is so much more than that too. And that's why our Arts Council is situated within economic development. And one more piece, which Councilmember Ferris and the City Council hasn't seen yet, in the next couple of months, you'll be seeing our economic development team presenting to the City Council their vision for really orienting arts as an economic generator and a boost in a more profound way than we've done in the past. So when it comes down to the budget, more people to be able to render more distribution of programs and grants for the city, but I think there's so much more than that. Hopefully through ARPA also. And Sarah, if you and anyone in the arts community want to make your voices heard as it relates to the American Recovery Plan dollars, that will come up. Our proposal to the City Council for how to spend those dollars will come up in a future budget amendment because we didn't have the information to include it in the formal budget process that just concluded last night. So do sign up for Councilmember Ferris's newsletters, and I'm sure you'll find out there. And Josh will make you aware through Community Council when you can show up to public hearings or send your emails to the council.
Thanks so much.
Thanks for building arts in the community.
Hi, my name is Cody. I am the treasurer of the community council. I'm really passionate about housing. I work at Housing Connect, and I was kind of wondering if you could possibly elaborate on housing in the budget. Like I got the numbers, but I was wondering if there's more, I guess, in like kind of the vision for the budget, and then possibly homeless services thought for that budget also.
Yeah, I can't, I think I heard you, but I couldn't quite hear you, Cody, but I'll elaborate on housing. Is that what you're interested in?
Yeah, and if basically that.
And forgive me, I was just at the Capitol Hill Community Council before this, so if I repeat myself, I'm sorry. I just talked about housing 30 minutes ago. So we have more than $11 million, and that the city's RDA is going to combine some of our fiscal year 22 revenues with existing resources. So we actually have carryover dollars, housing dollars from last year's budget that we're going to couple with this, with the revenues that we're anticipating this year. And that's what's going to produce about 350 affordable units in the coming fiscal year. This will not just be construction, it'll also be preservation of existing affordable units. And did I already tell you that at least 116 of those will be for 50% AMI and below? So that, okay. And then there's $4.5 million in federal support that we weren't allocated until just a couple of months ago, that will go into rental and mortgage assistance. But as I said to Sarah, the American Recovery Plan dollars and my vision for how to support the community and grow out of this pandemic time also includes, my vision includes permanent supportive housing funding. So I'll just leave it at that for now because I don't want to say too much, but I'm pretty excited about it. And hopefully by the middle of July, we'll be able to announce once we have that federal guidance. And
Well,
Andrew Johnston's doing a really good job helping us figure out how we can have the best and biggest impact on creating accessible housing for people who need it the most.
Yeah, I was really happy and really excited to see when you nominated him for that or assigned him, because I'm a fan of his work. So I was really happy with that.
Thanks. I'll tell him. He's on vacation right now, much earned vacation, but I'll tell him. And it's really, I feel very humbled that he wanted to do that. He's so good at what he does. And most of all, he's fired up about it. So it's not often that a council member leaves that position to work for an administration. And I feel really lucky, but most of all, our cities, we're going to be seeing a great path forward for homeless services and housing.
Yeah, definitely. Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Cody. Nice to meet you. I think I get to take maybe 4 or 5 more minutes of your time. If there's anyone else. Councilmember Ferris, I'll pass your kudos on to Andrew as well. Thank you.
It looked like Lauren had a comment or a question.
Yeah, I think I'll make a comment about, I moved to Salt Lake City, and the Glendale section of Salt Lake City in particular, from New York City and Connecticut a couple of years ago. And I'm really impressed about how in these 2 years that the positive changes that I've seen happening on this side of town, because I moved here hearing things about that were negative. And so, you know, with the river thing happening, and park trees being planted in parks from Tree Utah, et cetera, and this raging water project that's going to be happening. And I guess my wish is that as these changes happen, that people that have been living here for a long time, that the area doesn't get gentrified as that so often happens when neighborhoods change. So yeah, it's been just
Amen, Lauren.
Yeah.
We initiated in early 2020, we got the funding, thank you, City Council, to do a gentrification mitigation plan because gentrification is happening. And there are a few cities around the country who have taken on such a planning effort, which is really about getting the community in to help us create this plan. These are historically resilient communities on our west side of Salt Lake in particular. And there is no doubt that gentrification is happening with our largest population growth in the nation that Utah is leading with by more than a percentage point above the next fastest growing state, and our strongest economy in the nation by most accounts. And Salt Lake City is also ranking very high and number one in some of those economic like job growth categories. So these are market forces that, you know, have very predictable results if we don't intervene. And keeping people in housing, preserving naturally occurring affordable housing is part of the $11 million this year that we've proposed. But I want to just anchor that back to thanks to you as Salt Lake City residents. When I was the chair of the council in 2018, we did the sales tax increase. That was, remember, our gift for receiving the prison, the state prison that's being built out by the Great Salt Lake. The state said, well, because we're putting the prison there, we're going to let you decide if you want to increase your sales tax. And we said, after a few years in 2018, we said, we're going to do it. And we asked the residents, if we increase the sales tax, what do you want the money to go toward? And Salt Lake City residents were very supportive, majority supportive of a sales tax increase to pay for 4 buckets, more transit. That's how we're buying up bus service that is finally connecting our west and east side with 15-minute or less bus service, because we're paying UTA and saying where they're going to drive the buses. So we're going to keep doing that and growing that, improving our roads, which I joke is like one of the most equitable things in the city. The roads are equally crappy all over the city. Nobody gets great roads. Everybody gets crappy roads. So we're building new roads. We grew the police department. We heard from the communities, which feels like a long time ago now in a way, that we wanted to see more, positive community-based policing happening, more patrol. So we grew it by 50 patrol officers. And the 4th one is escaping me now, but it's the one you just talked about, housing, affordable housing. So those are our 4 buckets. Thank you as willing Salt Lakers, who are, I think, the most community-oriented people in the state of Utah, to say we want more affordable housing, and we as housed residents want to pay for that with an increase in our sales tax. So that $11 million I'm talking about is by and large coming from your altruistic hearts and the 50% population increase that we experience in normal times, with people coming into the city to work and go to school and recreate. So thank you. And we're going to keep figuring out how to build and preserve affordable housing in the city. We're going to keep figuring out through this gentrification mitigation plan how to support local businesses that are anchors in neighborhoods, and neighborhoods like yours that need breakfast joints and coffee shops and more markets and community-oriented businesses. So it might be fun, Turner, to have us come back in a few months with economic development and talk about how we're doing that and what the gentrification mitigation plan looks like, and then how we're going to spend some of the ARPA dollars on making those things happen.
I do want to jump in and say thank you, Mayor, because the Funding Our Future, those 4 buckets were created during your tenure on the City Council, and I really appreciate having that groundwork to work with. So thank you.
It's my pleasure.
If there's time for one more question, Mayor Mendenhall, I wanted to ask about, we live really close to the Jordan River Trail and the 9 Line, which are great resources. Are there any plans to expand bike pathways or greenways in the city in the near future?
Yes, do you mean aside from the 9 Line?
Yes.
Yeah, have you, so there's a couple of plans. The Folsom corridor expansion, I'm sure you know about, and it was cool. It's cool to see lately that clearing is happening.
Yeah.
There's some segments closer to the river, excuse me, that the railroads own that we still need to get. But so there's the Foothill Corridor Plan, which doesn't touch Glendale, but connects with other east-west trails like 9 Line, Folsom, and the Transit Master Plan that also contemplates some more bicycle-oriented connections. And you can look at a map on there that shows future bikeways that John Larson with our transportation department would probably be very happy to come and tell you about. But I want to add to that my passion for alleyways, and I hope you can share in that passion, because what an incredible asset we are doing nothing with as a city. Yeah. And I've already talked about the deficit of our streets, where we have disproportionately invested in single occupant vehicle transportation for a century. Yeah. And we have these incredible interconnected alleyway systems that are perfect for bicycle, walking, commuting, but also for placemaking and mural projects and art and other things. So I'll share a vulnerability with you. I was a minority on the council in loving alleyways, and I was often taunted for that. But then I became the mayor, and I worked with Councilmember Mono of District 5, who loves alleyways also. And we put some money into last year's budget to do an alleyway adoption pilot program. Oh, and then 2020 happened and it didn't happen. That's the vulnerability for me. Like, we just didn't have room on our plate to deploy that program. I would love to see a community, and at the time in Ballpark neighborhood, West Temple neighborhood wanted to do that program. I'd love to see some of you all raise your hand and work with Councilmember Ferris in my office to actually make that happen. And we've got a lot of ideas about how to do it. We just didn't get around to the bandwidth for it last year. Does that help?
Yes, it does. Thank you very much, Mayor Mendenhall.
Thanks for pushing bikes. Yay, Cody loves alleyways. Sweet. Pinpricks. Yep. I know I've gone over time, but happy to be with you. Happy to take another question if there is one, or take my leave if not.
I guess I do have another question if no one else has one. Does anybody else have another question? Okay.
I just want to say that I'm sorry about the death of your colleague, and you shared that, and you know and I'm sorry for your heartache.
Thank you, Lauren. Thank you. I'll pass that along to our police department too.
My question might be a little bit long for this discussion, but are there any plans? We talk a lot about housing and need for more housing. Are there any plans to talk about rezoning parts of the city or address the current zoning?
Yes. That's my short answer.
Okay.
Yep, it's been talked about for a long time how much our city needs a comprehensive evaluation of our zoning and reevaluation. And I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but there is interest in the ARPA conversation from my office in finally doing that. but we're waiting to see what these treasury guidelines are. Totally acknowledge that. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Turner and team, for having me tonight.
Thank you for being here. We appreciate you.
Go Jazz. Game starts in 23 minutes. Just saying. I'll let you go.
Thank you, Mayor. All right. With that, we'll move on to you, Councilmember Ferris.
Oh my goodness. I'll be frank. I think Mayor Mendenhall covered kind of all my highlights. She's certainly more well versed on the budget, having written the thing, as opposed to my just popping in the last month on this process. And she did a fantastic job of covering everything. So I honestly don't have a whole lot of highlights there. Goodness, let's see. I don't know. Any questions? I can't think of anything beyond what she's already expressed. I think she did a great job. And if not, I did put my contact information in the chat, so feel free to reach out anytime, call, text, email, whatever it takes. I want to definitely have an open line of communication with everybody so that we can let me know what you're seeing, what you're experiencing, so that we can try and help to either mitigate any issues or celebrate any successes, whatever's happening. Let's work with it. I know I've been sharing a lot of emails with Turner about some possible programs and projects in the future. So we'll keep working on those things. And yeah, I think that's about all I've got. Anyone else?
Any questions?
All right, and I'll stick around too. So if you do think of anything, feel free to chime in.
Thank you. Josh and Weston, I'm wondering if you guys have anything else you'd like to add. I know the mayor went for a long time, but if you guys have additional things to share, we'd love to have them.
I think you've heard probably a lot from our office already, so I actually don't have anything else to share tonight. But I will leave my contact info in the chat for anyone that needs to reach out to me, to reach out to our office. If there's any maybe comment or question that you think of that maybe you weren't able to ask the mayor, just let me know, and I can pass that along.
Thanks, Josh.
I'll just say thanks for all the work that you all do in the community. Thanks for your work in the Jordan River, all your work with the reimagining of the Raging Waters area. You guys are such a proactive group and doing some amazing things in Glendale, and I really appreciate it. I know it's a lot of thankless work sometimes, so thank you for all you do.
Thanks for being here, Weston. With that, I don't see any of our state elected officials. I know that they had interim session today. I just want to make sure that that's correct, that nobody's here representing them. Doesn't look like it. Okay, so we'll move on. Let's do our public safety updates. I see Detective Oliver is here.
Oh, okay, I finally unmuted. I am here. Are there any questions or concerns from the community council right now?
I don't have anything specific. Do any residents want to bring anything up?
We are seeing, oh, sorry, did I cut someone off?
Hi, my name's Joshua. I just wanted to ask, there was, Mayor Mendenhall just mentioned that there was 15 new officers. Are any of those officers here in Glendale? Are they going to be reporting, or are they here in Glendale? How many of those officers go here?
That's a good question. I'm not real positive on the number that the mayor had talked about today. I'm gonna have to talk to our chief and see what's going on with that. If there are, yeah, they'll be spread out. So we will see a good majority of those through Glendale and Poplar Grove in District 2. So yes, we will see them. Again, I don't have any details on. Go ahead, Dennis.
Sorry, Detective Oliver. I'm not entirely clear on the numbers. I'm trying to remember specifics. I know that there were, in the budget, we funded an additional 12 social workers that work with the police department through their community connection center. And then an additional class of lateral officers very recently. I don't remember how many were in that class. But whatever actual armed officers, sworn officers come into the force will be serving throughout the city. So it'll just be evenly sprinkled. And then the social workers also evenly sprinkled because they're responding specifically to calls that they are best suited for. So not specific to Glendale, but not specific to anywhere else either, just wherever the need may arise at any point in any day.
Perfect. I hope that answered the question. I'm not real familiar with the budget. We don't, I actually don't see it until I guess it's all passed. So yeah, thanks, Dennis. We are seeing a lot of activity on the river. We're going to be doing some cleanups with the health department tomorrow. So that's kind of a concern, but we'll be out with the health department tomorrow doing some of those abatements. Any other questions, concerns? And I'll just jump into some real quick numbers.
I had a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hi, I was wondering with the cleanup, is there with the health department, are there social workers involved? Like I've heard of VOA, I think, going out there. Are there other social workers involved in that? And then I was kind of curious about, like, I would think with the homelessness issue that Glendale's been experiencing, that we might be having like a lot of use of calls that require the social worker. So I was wondering, like, has there been a lot of use of need for that, like that new partnership?
So yes, they do. They're offered resources before the health department actually goes out. And in fact, last week we went out with Dell Keller with the health department, and he had a crew that would also give resources, but he was also feeding them as well. So they were getting cleaned up and they were being fed by the health department at that time. But Dennis probably knows better about the outreach program as far as on that side. But I do know they receive resources before the health department even comes into play. And yes, our social workers are being used pretty diligently. They're a hot commodity right now. So that's one of the reasons I think that the city has increased the number that we're going to have, is just because they are a hot commodity. And they're needed. Honestly, they're needed in some of those circumstances.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm. So I just wanted to just go over some numbers real quick. And I did this with the last community council that I met with. I just wanted to real quick go over the city statistics and then District 2 statistics. And I went and picked up District 1, and you guys are not District 1. So forgive me just 1 second while I pull up District 2 numbers. These resources, all these numbers are on our CompStat page of the Salt Lake City Police Department website, and it's under the open data field. And then you can click on CompStat, and all the newest numbers for CompStat are on that page. So just recently, District 2 is actually looking fairly good year to date. Well, fairly good. We're up 30% still in violent crimes in District 2. That's still a concern, and we're up 16% in total property crimes for the same amount of time as to last year. So the biggest concern is, of course, we have ag assault non-family is up 37.5%. That's really where the majority of our numbers come from, is the aggravated assault, but it's not the family aggravated assault. It's stranger on stranger in essence, if you wanted to put it that way. The burglary or the total property crimes, the largest number right now are residential burglaries. So we're seeing a real increase in residential burglaries in District 2. There's lots of things that we can do to mitigate that. Cutting back shrubbery from windows, being able to have that field of view, knowing your neighbors. And that's the biggest thing, is just getting to know your neighbors, so you know who's there supposed to be there and who's not supposed to be there, and continue to call us so we can increase or keep those heat maps. The numbers that we have right now as far as patrol officers are are thin. So some of the calls won't be answered for, unfortunately, up to the next day. So, and that's just the lower priority calls. The priority 1s and 2 calls, like the crimes in progress, will be absolutely responded to in the time frame that we all respect or request, I guess, or expect. So just to show you a little bit of a difference, the city crimes, the biggest increase for the city, unfortunately, is we've seen a homicide rate up 150%. And that's just in the last 28 days. As you know, we've had three homicides just this last week. So in all, for year to date, we're up 125% in homicides. So for the city, our total violent crimes are 13.6%. I think that's dropped just a tiny bit, but not very much. Total property crimes is 18.7% still, with the majority of that being car prowls throughout the city. So again, in order to mitigate some of those car prowls, just don't keep anything that looks like could be of worth in your car, because unfortunately they'll do just about anything to get into that car to take it. So that's a concern. And then just wanted to just throw out that we are deeply grateful for the Unified Police Department, who filled a lot of slots today so that we could attend that sergeant's funeral that occurred today. He did pass away of natural, I guess, circumstances last week, and the Unified Police Department was able to help us so we could attend that. So I just wanted to throw that out there. Turner, are there any other questions? Anybody that has a question or concern up to this point? And if not, I'll turn it back over to you, Turner.
I don't have anything. Does anyone else?
I would just like to throw in my huge thanks to Detective Oliver for being a consistent and a responsive presence in our neighborhood. He is always there for us, and I really appreciate his efforts. Thank you.
Thanks, Dennis.
All right. It doesn't look like there's other questions. Thank you, Detective Oliver. With that, I'm going to bounce back to our council updates. So before Mayor Mendenhall joined, I was just mentioning that we have resolved our 501c3 tax status with the IRS after 3 years. So that's resolved. And Cody and I are working on getting our bank information updated and that kind of thing. There's just a little bit of work that comes now that we've resolved that issue with the IRS. The other thing I wanted to do is just mention a couple of the internships that the Community Council is hosting this year. So last year we had 3 interns that worked with us. Lily and Brandon worked with us to develop the One Glendale plan, which you can see on our website. Basically, it was a comprehensive community plan just focused on volunteerism and the ways we can build community and improve our neighborhood. So I'd invite you to check that out on our website. I'll post a link to it in the Zoom and on Facebook as soon as I'm done giving this update. The second thing I wanted to, so that was one of our internships last year. The second internship that we had last year was with Damian Rodriguez, and he worked with us to go through the process of affiliation with Keep America Beautiful. So we've submitted for affiliation. We expect to receive that by the end of this month. And then what we plan to do is have a community celebration recognizing us as the first official Keep America Beautiful affiliate in the state of Utah. So Glendale leading the way on beautification and cleaning. The next thing I wanted to mention on July 21st, which wouldn't be our normal community council meeting. Instead of having a normal meeting, we're hosting a block party at the Jordan Park Dog Park on Montague Avenue. So that's just at the northern end of Jordan Park. And we're going to be providing food and some fun different activities. Salt Lake City Police Department will be there doing a bicycle rodeo. We'll have vaccination and registration for pets. And microchipping. So if your pet needs any of those services, we'll have them provided by Salt Lake County Animal Services. Neighborhood houses participating. And we're doing this in conjunction with the Poplar Grove Community Council. So just a fun event. July is, as you all know, kind of a difficult month with family travel and different opportunities. And so we're hosting something a little bit different. I am posting the invite for that event in the chat and on Facebook. This is something we did 2 years ago, and we just had an overwhelmingly positive response. So we are bringing it back, and we plan to do this every year in July. The last thing that I wanted to mention as an update from the Community Council, we posted an article on our social media a couple of weeks ago about a proposed development at Tejada's Market on Glendale Drive. And we've decided that this kind of development is going to be happening more frequently in the neighborhood. We're going to see a significant amount of investment and change in the neighborhood over the next couple of years. And so what we're planning to do, instead of having that developer come and present at our community council meeting, we're actually going to do a special meeting that can be a little bit longer so that we can have a bigger conversation about development in the neighborhood. For those of you that are unfamiliar, basically there has been a proposal to build apartments and condos, or excuse me, townhomes to replace Tejada's Market on Glendale Drive. And with that comes redevelopment and some changes in the neighborhood. So we'll be posting that information. I've reached out to the developer to schedule that. Right now we're looking at June 30th or July 1st. It will be a Zoom meeting just like this, and we'll be sure to get that information out to everybody. And we're going to have a conversation about development, both that specific development and development at large. But I wanted to flag that for all of you. We'll make sure that we promote that event and that we get a flyer and an invitation out so that everyone can attend that. Those are the updates that I have. We have a little bit of business to get to related to the Glendale Arts Committee, but I wanted to see if there were other updates from the board or other things that need to be mentioned. And Dennis, I see your hand is up.
Sorry, I just remember one more thing. Now that we finished the budget yesterday, the CIP process is starting, Community Improvement Program. There are a lot of projects in there, particularly referencing Glendale and the Glendale area. And I need to hear from people. So let me know if you've got any stake in any of those projects. What are you supporting and why? And so that I can be able to fight hard for them, for the right ones. So thank you very much. Let me know if there's any questions or anything on those.
Thank you. Do you have a list of those by chance, or is there one on the city website?
Probably. I know that I have a book. I imagine it's going, if it isn't posted on the site already, it will be soon.
Okay. We will, I'll be sure to get that list and send it out.
Alrighty, thanks.
Thank you very much. Were there any other updates from board members or the community about Glendale Happenings?
Did we mention the Three Rivers project? Is that what it's called right here on it's July 9th? Is the opening? Is it?
Thank you for
the Three Creeks Confluence. Yeah. Yeah, that one, the grand opening of the Three Creeks Confluence, and that one's right on 13th South and 9th West. Or sorry, yes, 13th South and 9th West, not to be confused with California and 9th West, mind you. So it's just a bit of a half block north of California, where 13th South dead ends into the river. That is now a phenomenally beautiful park with a couple of different bridges. One's a fishing bridge. It's a great space, and that grand opening is coming up. So I definitely recommend coming out there. And for example, a couple of the CIP program projects are proposed to go in that surrounding areas, like just across the river from there. So I need to hear support from everybody to see what's important to you. Thank you much.
Thank you. And I just uploaded a flyer for that. Thank you so much for catching that, Joshua. Anyone else? Okay, with that, I'm going to move over to There's a couple of items of business. One we will not be handling tonight, but I mentioned at our last meeting, we have a couple of bylaw revisions that we would like to put to the community for our community council bylaws. Really, they just, they formalize and put in policy some of the things that we've been working on, and just make sure that the community council stays focused on them. So one is updating our primary address. At our last meeting, I mentioned that we were looking for a permanent address, and Ken from the Sorensen Center mentioned at that meeting that he had a mailbox for us. Since that meeting, we've gotten the mailbox key, gotten it all set up, switched our address with our corporate partners and with the IRS. And so now that is our official permanent mailing address. We want to add that to our bylaws just so that that doesn't change or get confused in the future now that we do have a permanent address. The other thing is looking at adding some specific mission statement language for what the Glendale Community Council is focused on. We don't have an existing mission statement. We clearly know what we're doing, and we clearly know kind of the direction and how other community councils function, but we would be looking at adding a mission statement for the organization. This is just a draft. We're going to do some exercises to really refine this mission, but that's one of the changes we'll be proposing. And then the other thing is just adding language to say that we're going to maintain our affiliation with Keep America Beautiful. This is kind of the last thing that we have to do as part of that affiliation. We don't have to do it right now, but we want to get that done before the end of the year. Another potential change is requiring that all committees that are formed have a committee charter, basically just a mission statement with a list of some goals, and I can show what one of those looks like. The community's already approved a couple of these committee charters, but we just want to make sure that that's a process that the council's always following so that committees have a purpose and some guiding documents there. That is those are the only changes we're proposing. They're primarily around operations, so they're not changing the fundamental structure of the council, not change anything related to meetings or anything, but just making sure that we have all the information and all the policy in place to support some of the projects we've been working on. So we are not voting on this tonight. We're going to do over the next couple of months, what we're looking at doing is throughout the summer and fall, we'll talk about these, we'll revise them, we'll get them out for public review, and we won't vote on any bylaws changes until most likely the December meeting of this year. So we're still several months out. I'm going to likely bring it up at every meeting just so that everyone feels comfortable, sees this process, and has the opportunity to weigh in. The piece of business I would like to handle tonight is our Glendale Arts Committee. So Sarah, if it's okay that I call on you, if you don't mind just kind of talking about what the Glendale Arts Committee's been up to, how it came about, and if you're looking for volunteers while I get the charter pulled up to talk about.
Yeah, thanks, Turner. So I'm Sarah. I think I've met a lot of you, but I live over here on 800 West, and I've been in the neighborhood for, well, I don't know, a year, I guess, now. And I work in the arts. I've worked in the arts for a long time. And initially, I just wanted to do something for and with our neighborhood in the arts. And then, you know, talking more with Turner and finding out about the survey that was done, looking at the survey results and seeing how much those that filled out the survey were interested in having more art, different types of art, community programs in the neighborhood, just made me feel like we need to put together a committee to try to make some of these things happen. So, so I pulled together some neighbors and, you know, people who work in arts administration, artists. So we've kind of got on-off people of about 7 in the group. And we've talked about what ideas different people have, tying that into some of the survey results and trying to pursue some of these endeavors. So Currently, I have put together an event proposal at Three Creeks Confluence for next spring. And I was really excited when Turner told me that he got the IRS forms. So I applied for some ZAP funding, and I'm applying for some funds through the Jordan River Commission. And so we're working on that. That will be an art event called Art at the Confluence, at the Three Creeks Confluence. And we're exploring a lot of mural opportunities, and just still exploring different things that we can do. Some items that Turner has shared with me that are kind of on the back burner, but potential, and then other things that are coming from our committee members. Always welcoming more people onto the committee, because there's a lot of logistical stuff to do, and we're all doing this on a volunteer basis. So the more people on the team, the more likely we'll be able to carry out a lot of these new ideas.
Thank you, Sarah. So what we are looking to do tonight, I'm sharing a link to a charter that we've created for the Glendale Arts Committee. With these charters, they're usually pretty bare bones in the beginning. They really just talk about here, describing what the committee is. They talk about the date that it was approved. For some committees, obviously, we don't need them to last beyond a certain period of time. If we're planning an event, if we're doing something that is relatively time sensitive, there will be an expiration date. With this committee, what we're looking at doing is having it be a standing committee, so it would continue to operate year after year. We would recruit members for it. The community council would support the committee, and we would have board members assigned to help Sarah with the committee. So what we're looking to do tonight is approve this committee as an official committee of the Glendale Community Council. We'll do this how we've handled some of our other online votes. We're going to do it by acclamation unless there's opposition. But what I wanted to do is, Sarah, would you mind reading the description that you all came up with for the committee? This can change. If there is a change made to it, we'll bring it back to the community. But basically what we want to do is make this an official committee, and then with that, Sarah will continue chairing and kind of leading this effort. We just want to formalize it tonight.
Okay, so committee description. This committee is to ideate, instigate, and support initiatives that add more art in all its forms to the Glendale neighborhood to make it a better place to live, work, play, engage, and learn.
Thank you. So with that, I'm going to move that we approve the creation of the Glendale Arts Committee. I'll need a second for this. And then if anyone would like to speak to the motion, feel free to do so. You can ask questions, we can have a discussion, but I will move that we approve it by acclamation. If someone is opposed to that, we can have that conversation. But for now, I'd like to make the motion that we approve the Glendale Arts Committee by acclamation. So we'll need a second. Cody seconded, our treasurer. Anyone that wants to speak to the motion? Doesn't look like it. So what I'm going to do, I will rule that the motion passed and that we have approved the Glendale Arts Committee as an official committee of the Community Council. Basically, all that means is the board will support the community or the committee, and we'll ask the committee to report at these meetings, not every month, but when they have updates, and just to share the work that the committee is working on. And with that, I'd just like to give a call out for volunteers. If you're able to get involved, we want more people to be involved. The work that we do, and as Sarah mentioned, the projects that we're able to take on really do depend on our volunteers and our board. I want to give a shout out to Cody and Joshua tonight for being here. And Ryan, thank you for your time on the board. And with that, we're out of business items for the evening.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Yes, thanks for being here. If anyone has issues or items that they'd like to talk about, I will end the live stream.